Hello there, Kyle Katarn here, and today we're going to be attempting to answer the question of who rescued Moff Gideon from New Republic custody on his way to trial and an inevitable execution. The Lambda-class shuttle transporting the war criminal was found derelict in space, with evidence of an attack. Inside were dead New Republic prison personnel and no signs of Gideon, and a fragment of Beskar was found embedded in the shuttle wall.
Are you saying that Moff Gideon was taken by Mandalorians?
Let's review our evidence. Beskar was found at the scene of the derelict shuttle crash. Beskar is a unique alloy typically associated with Mandalorians, and at one time in the galaxy it was exclusively the case. But after the Great Purge, that is no longer so. The enormous wealth of Beskar on the planet of Mandalore was seized by Imperial forces that obliterated the surface of the world with fusion rays. We know that these Imperial forces included none other than Moff Gideon himself. This seized Beskar was hoarded by Moff Gideon and then passed down to his various underlings. For example, Morgan Elsbeth had a Beskar spear, and Werner Herzog's client character had literal stacks of the stuff. So while Mandalorians are the obvious conclusion, it may not be all that simple. Let's review our suspects. Bo-Katan's mercenaries. At the beginning of the season, Bo-Katan mentioned that after failing to secure the Darksaber from Gideon, her Mandalorian followers abandoned her and became a mercenary army. It's plausible that the Mandalorians were hired by Gideon's resources to spring him from New Republic lockup. I find this somewhat unlikely, though, given that Mandalorians would still have a major hang-up about working for the person who's responsible for the destruction of their homeworld. The next suspect is Bo-Katan herself. In my opinion, this theory is unlikely, but it's possible that Gideon was rescued by Bo-Katan herself in an attempt to bring Gideon to justice on behalf of the crimes against Mandalore, and as an opportunity for personal redemption. After all, we still don't know the exact series of events that led to her losing the Darksaber to Gideon in the first place. Other Mandalorians. It's entirely possible that this is the case for an as-yet unknown clan of Mandalorians also out for revenge, who have extracted Gideon from the New Republic convoy simply to try and execute him in their own court. I like this theory. It reminds me of real-world events in our own history. For example, where Mossad agents kidnapped and extradited Nazi war criminals living in Argentina back to Israel to be tried. Star Wars has always had a pattern of mirroring our own history and conflicts, which kind of strengthens this theory for me as well. Gideon's own forces. It's worth noting that the extent of Gideon's resources was never fully shown to us, and it's entirely possible that a detachment of Dark Troopers were able to breach the shuttle and extricate Gideon, leaving behind a trace of Beskar alloy from their own construction. This theory is supported by the fact that Imperial forces are active in the Mandalore system. A full squadron of TIE bombers destroying Bo-Katan's home on Kalevala proves this. These are short-range bombers without hyperdrives, meaning there must be a capital ship in the system also. Perhaps it's the same one Gideon was delivered to. Morgan Elsbeth. Another non-Mandalorian explanation for the Beskar is Morgan Elsbeth. Ahsoka spared her life and she's still out there, and we know she was in possession of Beskar at one point, giving the Beskar spear to Din Djarin. It's plausible that she has more Beskar and used it in the attack on Gideon's New Republic transport. We know that Morgan Elsbeth works for Grand Admiral Thrawn, and a connection between Thrawn and Gideon has yet to be revealed, beyond the fact that they're both Imperial officers. Still, I think this is a promising theory, and not just because I really like Morgan Elsbeth's character and want to see more of her. Out of all the possible suspects, I believe Moff Gideon's own forces are the most likely culprits to have rescued him from New Republic custody. And the presence of Beskar can be explained by the composition of the Dark Troopers themselves, not to mention it's a convenient way to throw suspicion onto the Mandalorians. We know that Moff Gideon is obsessed with the idea of becoming a Mandalorian himself. Giancarlo Esposito has admitted as much in interviews.
Moff Gideon would really love to be a Mandalorian, and there's a reason for it. You know, Mandalorians, they all look.
Problem? Is that why he's so mean?
That's his psychological real problem.
Somebody give him a helmet.
He really wants to be a Mandalorian, and
because we're cool.
You know, well, not only because we're cool, but because the strength and power of the Mandalorians is not necessarily that they're individuals. It's that they're part of a group that have an ideal and a morality and a dream.
Moff Gideon understands that the biggest threat is a united Mandalorian people. Planting Beskar at the scene of the crime is a strategic way to drive a wedge between the New Republic and the Mandalorians and to prevent his enemies from getting stronger together. Based on the evidence and suspects reviewed, the answer to the question of who rescued Moff Gideon from New Republic custody remains a mystery. While it's clear that Beskar was present at the scene of the derelict shuttle crash, the source of the Beskar and the identity of the rescuer are still unknown. The suspects range from Mandalorian mercenaries to Gideon's own forces, and the motives behind the rescue are still unclear, but I don't think we'll have to wait long at all for an answer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in a comment below who you think rescued Moff Gideon from the New Republic convoy. Tune into the Dork Forces podcast at 7 PST on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, where we will go further in depth into this topic. Thanks for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.